What's going on, guys? Brian here from Sinister Gaming. Just wanted to go over the applications of the Black Goat Laughs from the Phantom Nightmare set dropping. This is mainly a card that Labyrinth can use. You can use it in other decks, setting it as a thrust target, which isn't the worst thing, but there's probably better cards, honestly. So it has two effects, is an on-field and a grave effect. The on-field effect is declare a card name and either player can special summon the monster with that name, the original name, except from the graveyard. So that locks out everywhere except from the graveyard. Pretty straightforward. Now, why this is usable in Furniture Lab in particular is you can pitch it with a furniture to get this second effect. You can banish this card in the graveyard and declare one monster card name. This turn, neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field with that original name. So you can only use one effect or the other per turn. And one is more of a reactive measure and the other is more of a preventive measure. But they kind of do also ebb and flow in the same way. So I would say like the monster card one is especially more reactive. You can like chain it to an effect to special summon, even though it's monster's own effect to special summon, so that's more of a reactive kind of way of using it. And the grave effect is more like a preventive way. You can't use it in response to a card already being activated. So if you have like an Omni-Negate, for an example, you would have to use this before using your key card, so they just can't Omni-Negate your key card. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and go over some of the matchups starting now. So we have a few targets here for both the Snake Eyes and the Fire King build. So for the Fire King build specifically, you can call Garunix, and this is going to be a good call for the on-field or grave effect, specifically in response to the effect that special summons from the hand. If a monster was destroyed by battle card effect, you can special summon this from the hand or grave. So why the I would say the on-field effect of this applies more if your opponent, is activating a Fire King Island, and this is going to be resolving in the new chain. Of course, you're not going to use this on the grave effect of this card if a card was destroyed, but the grave effect of this card can be applied to this card's grave effect. So when this hits the board, they can't pop one from the deck, so you can't, they can't pop Kieran from the deck, which would reborn one of their monsters and pop a card on the field non-targeting, which is a huge issue for Lab. So that's a very nice key component. Kind of eliminates one of the main problems that Lab struggles with in the particular matchup of the Fire King build in particular. For both builds, I like to call Snake Eyes Flameburge Dragon, particularly when Ash is sending itself to the graveyard or sending two face-up cards including itself to the graveyard to special summon one from the deck, and it's going to summon this like 9 out of 10 times because that's part of the combo. They could bring out Snake Eye Oak, but it's not really going to fulfill much because this card is 1 body plus 2 more, so that's 3 total, and Oak is just like 2, and it doesn't really give them any difference from where they started with Ash, and this is kind of like a +1 in a way. And it's going to give them bodies to link away with as part of their full combo, because typically what they do is they'll put an IP Masquerena or an SP Little Knight in their spell and trap zone, so that gives them like so much advantage. So if you could stop them from summoning this out, that is a huge advantage for you to have in your deck for follow-up. And then for grave, against the for the grave effect of the Black Goat's Laugh against the Snake Eye deck, you can use it in response to Populous or Popular in the TCG, and same thing here, you can use it to Garunix. Snake Eye Ash, you could use it on Snake Eye Ash if they so happen to search it with Bonfire, but like 99% of the time they're gonna search Popular with it. But yeah, if you have that public knowledge, just go ahead and feel free to use the grave effect to prevent Snake Eyes Ash from activating. They may change their normal summon to be like Poplar or something, but in that sense, you're pretty much getting them out of potentially getting this, because the only other thing that can get this is Snake Eye Oak and Birch on your opponent's turn, which, you know, that's quite a bit that they have to play around. It's pretty much gonna make them like -2 in a way, or have 2 less interactions on their end board. So it's pretty nice. For the Labyrinth mirror match, you could call either Lady or Lovely. You would kind of have to respond with a big welcome. Now the downside of this is if your opponent already has a Lady on field, this is gonna hurt, of course. So you would have to use this preemptively in response to like a Lady effect, a special, or you would use this preemptively to the Lovely effect. Or how should I say this? A welcome Labyrinth summoning a Lovely, or a big welcome summoning a Lovely in order to prevent this pop from happening, because the grave effects can be kind of hard to apply. And I probably wouldn't use the grave effects so much so on this. But yeah, these two are your targets. You're pretty much just going to prevent them from special summoning. So just to reiterate, Lovely is in response to a welcome trap, and then Lady Labyrinth would be in response to her own effect. Yeah, you could, of course, if you have more public knowledge, then feel free to use based on whatever is going to be used that you know. That heavily affects between the Labyrinth matchup in particular, whereas like these are kind of more straightforward, because they're all independent combo pieces that kind of, the engine just kind of goes through the same thing all the time. And then kind of the similar fashion of the Snake Eyes deck, where you're kind of going through the lines at the same time, or the same monsters, is the Low and the Skull Guardian. You're going to chain the on-field effect in response to a ritual summon, and 99% of the time the Skull Guardian is going to be the monster they bring out. If they bring out Saravis and you're playing a Labyrinth, it's not really a big deal. All it does is negate Inherent Summon, which does nothing for Labyrinth. Whereas this is an Omni Negate, that's a 4,100 beater once they have the continuous spell up, and it can be targeted or destroyed, or just targeted. So that's really good, obviously, against Labyrinth. And then same thing with Low. This card you can use in response. If you don't want to take your shot at using the Black Oat Slath chained in response to a ritual spell, you can chain in response to Low summoning itself from the grave. That would cut them off from Dynamondo, that would cut them off from having the negate, because this requires them to have Low on the field, because you need to control it. A Low to negate. So either one of those would work. And then of course you could use the Black Goat's Laugh grave effect in response to, like, before you go off on your effect to negate, similar as you would do to like a Baron to Flirt. So before you make your key play, just activate this card and then commit to your key play so they can't negate it. Turbulence is probably like the best application of this, just because Turbulence is such a key card and format defining card. It's especially good to call Turbulence because in post Phantom Nightmare, the way Rescue Ace needs to be interrupted, it's probably better to use your hand traps earlier on than in response or on the summon of Turbulence, just because of Princess. Because Princess can just reborn it if you preemptively imperm it while SP Little Knight's on board. So you could just call the name Rescue Ace Turbulence, and you wouldn't have to worry about set 4 for the rest of the turn in any way possible. And well, I shouldn't say in any way possible, but the Snake Eyes line, the 1 card to 2 card combo to get to Turbulence, is just basically nullified, because the only other way that they could bring this out is by rescuing it back, which is kind of like way too much to commit into, and by that time you can just imperm it and that'll be enough. And of course you can call Hydrant too if you're worried about too much consistency, or if that's like the only public knowledge card, or if they're starting off with Snake Eyes and you really want to hit that, that's an option. You can use in response to Preventer summoning from the hand for the on-field effect of the Blackout Laughs. So Preventer is usually a really good key card too. Again, this is better if you have public knowledge and you know they're not going to Turbulence that turn. For Kashtira matchup, you can call Unicorn when they Planet Search. You can call Fenrir when they Planet Search. And you can call Rise Heart when they activate the effect of special, when they Planet Search, or they summon it off Fenrir. So those are the main applications for it. And then I think Fenrir is probably the best one, just because it's gonna break the most it's gonna get the most value against the Labyrinth matchup, because it's gonna get another monster and it's gonna bait out one interruption or just straight up banish your Lovely or something, whereas like Unicorn and Rise aren't really gonna do anything. So Fenrir is probably the #1 hit out of those three, but you know, if you have public knowledge, of course you can use any one of those three, or you're probably gonna be good. For branded, I do have the Blazing Cartasia, just because of fusion deployment going. Well, you can call fusion, you can call Cartasia, or you can call Fallen of Albaz, depending on what your board is. You know, if they're starting their turn, you can just pitch the Black Goat's Laughs, and then force them to poly when they don't want to. In a way, it's honestly, there's not really that many good targets for the main deck monsters, so that's why I really have them for the extra deck. So you mainly have Albion. You can include Lubellion in this too. They're basically the same thing. And then Mirror Jade, of course, mainly for going second when you use the Black Goat's Lapse grade effect to prevent the activation, which they will probably chain, but then they would have to banish their own monsters. So definitely use it before you commit any plays. You can call Dragoon if you see Lubellion or Albion, and you can see Dark Magician being sent, then you're going to call those. You can call Guardian Chimera in response to an branded in red activation, assuming they have the appropriate on-field targets, so just basically like one monster that they can fuse with and two in hand, or vice versa. So those are all the applications, and of course you can call Granguin Oil if you don't want to call Cartasia, because this one is a little bit more risky. And then for Flu, none of the on-field effects are going to work, sadly, since they don't special, but these are the best ones to call from the Grave effect. And you have to keep in mind that you would have to use this in response to like an island activation, or on the second normal summon, since these kind of two pieces kind of work together to flesh out the full combo into an Empen. So what that basically means is, if for some reason you don't preempt it, like you're scared of getting Talanced right away, you would let them commit to one of these summons like Eaglin or Robina, and they need one of these two pieces to continue their combo, so you would just call the opposite, and that would kind of work in your favor. Sure, they can search something else, but if they don't have the tribute summon, that's fine. If you are absolutely do not want to even take that risk, in case they already have a tribute summon in hand, then you're just going to want to go ahead and call Empen, so they can't get Dreaming Town. So these are all the best targets, and Empen is probably the safest one of the three. And then for Mannadium, we have these two targets. They're both effects that reveal in the hand, so you can reveal in the hand to special, so you can go ahead and call these names to prevent them from being special summoned from the hand. And then the on-field effects, I have them more for like, oh, and you can also call Astrolaud. I'm gonna go over some of these other extra deck ones too once we get down there, but yeah, these are just the main targets. Mannadium doesn't really have that many good on-field effect ones, but I would say like Cross Sheep is also one, but I didn't really want to include it. So yeah, you can call Cross Sheep as well. For tier, honestly, I feel like the Rhino Heart and maybe Kaleido could work. I'll just go ahead and throw it in there for the graphic. If you're worried about getting your cards spun, but this doesn't prevent Rhino Heart from being special summoned from Grave. So there's not too many good ones. You can also call, now that I think about it, you can also call Shiren, the Tearlaments level 4 from the hand. Yeah, you can use this in response to the effect on the field, but not the effect, or the effect in the hand to special. But it's not the best. It's honestly not too crazy against this deck. And then against the Centurion deck, you can call either one of these in response to their effects to special summon, so you kind of would just hold this. I probably wouldn't call any of their synchros. This is just probably better, since they both kind of just need to summon themselves out to play. So you can stop that. And then one of the better decks that you can use this against, I feel like, is Purrely. Like, yeah, they could shotgun their spells in response to this, but I feel like they're getting almost no value in a way. They're just pretty much relying on luck. So if you call Purrely, that's one of the best ones, I feel like, because this is the one that's not once per turn. Purrely is a little safer, but this one's definitely gonna hit harder against your opponent. But yeah, they can still play through it, whereas this is just absolutely not going to be played through at all, and prevents them from getting their normal trap and My Friend Purrely and the field spell. And one thing about calling this card is that this card can search this card too, so just be mindful of whatever situation is going to come up. 99% of the time people start with Purrely, so based on the information that you get off Purrely, you can kind of determine that. So it's mainly your call on that. And then yeah, we can call some extra deck monsters, of course. These are ones that just once they hit the board, you know, they're not like an on summon effect, so you can call like any one of these. And then you can even call Princess if these two hit the board, because I would say like 60% of the time this is the next step in the ladder for fire decks to make, unless they just go straight into a Link 4. Especially on their first turn, if they reborn your Ash and they need it to extend to play, they're definitely going to go into Princess to try to fix their bad hand after you ashing them. So this is definitely a good hit on the Hieta to prevent it from activating its effect, or just on field if you're going first, you can just call Princess. But personally, I would rather go for the Garunix in that respective deck. And we already discussed the branded cards, and I guess the last one there's really there to discuss is the Hugin against Runic. So the issue with the Hugin on the field is obviously they can just chain another spell to it, which is not bad actually, because that means if it's the Sprite deck, then this deck kind of uses multiple Hugin to play. Like more than one in the same turn. So you can call Hugin, and then in the grave, I would say the grave effect's a little bit better though, because you can just use it and now they can't get Fountain at all, no matter how many spells they chain or anything like that. Like sure, yeah, they can bring out a different fusion, but all of them just don't really do anything in other decks other than the Jerry or Gary, the level 4, but that doesn't get you Fountain, so you're not gonna do anything with it. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about the Black Goat's Laughs, or if you have any applications that I didn't go over today, you know, feel free to drop it down below and we can make a discussion out of it. That's it, guys. We'll catch you on the next one, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks.